Welcome to this video demonstrating the improved cluster map tool in Derwent Data Analyzer version 8. To demonstrate the new cluster mapping capabilities, I prepared an example dataset. Before this video started, I took the CRISPR sample file that ships with DDA8 and pulled a subdataset of the 87 CRISPR patent families from Harvard. The reason I did this is to focus in on a set of inventors who would be more likely to be working together. We can use the cluster map tool to see how they collaborate. We'll use the cluster map tool to explore this collaboration. So let's open up the list of inventors at Harvard, and we'll take all of them. To do this, I go to the Report tab on the ribbon in DDA and select the Cluster Map button. Now, I could have selected just 5 or 10 inventors and made a cluster map of that, or I can bring in all of them. With the new capability as the Enhanced Cluster Map tool, we can process a lot more records, a lot more nodes to be precise, than we could before, so I brought them all in. With version 8, you can bring in a large number of nodes. Too many might make the map hard to read, but now there's the capability to cover your data set fully if that's the right thing to do. Next, we extended the set of controls that you can use while working with the map, so you have far more flexibility about what's being displayed on the screen than with version 7. Let's look through each of the different controls up here on the new control panel. The first one is the label range. What this does is to have the same effect as the old control in switching off individuals. In this case, we'll turn off those who have fewer instances in the map. So right now, we're only displaying anybody with 6 records or more. In the past, you would have had to switch these people off one by one by one. Now we can go through and instead of clicking people on and off using the old selection button of the previous version, we can just go through en masse and reduce the complexity of the set that way. So now we're answering one question, which is which inventors at Harvard have the most records? So we can see from this that we can go through and quickly drill down within the Harvard set and focus in on those inventors at Harvard who have lots of patents. We can see here that those have 5 individuals who have at least 13 patents to their name. And this gets us up to about 8 nodes. Now I'm going to roll that back and get everybody back in the mix. And the next thing we'll look at is this control here, the record node range. It has a slightly different effect. What this is saying is it's showing you the level of connectivity. So the most number of patents that are shared between inventors at Harvard are 5. There's one patent, one individual, who has 5 or more patents in their name. And DDA's cluster map tool has the ability to link across nodes. In this case, we're doing 3 here. Let's raise it up to 4. So that means that there's one link from these 2 individuals, and we can see they collaborated on 5 patents. This is the kind of measure of the frequency of collaboration in terms of co-invention. So these first set of controls, that was the sheer volume of activity. And this second control is really for the volume of collaboration. Here we're going to look at the 2 individuals who've collaborated on 5 or more patents. Let's roll that back down again and fill the screen up with everybody. So the next control is one that shows you the length strength. Let's roll that all the way up. And this is a measure of the number of collaborators. We can see that there's a single patent at Harvard that has 14 collaborators listed on it. In other words, 14 inventors were listed on the face of the patent. Let's go ahead and pick out that patent. There it is. It was put out in 2014. You can see that from the detail window on the right. So we've got this one patent with a lot of collaborators. So the first measure up here is the individuals affecting the most number of records they have. And this one is looking at who collaborates the most. And then this last one is looking at the total number of collaborators. So between these three different controls, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you adjust the visualization to stress the various points you might be trying to demonstrate. And that's not the only way we have to control this visualization. We can also go through and pick out a single individual. Let's pick Neville as an example. Neville has 7 records, and a lot of them are initially shown overlapping. So we'll spread this thing out. And there's Neville pulled out right here. So we've got these 7 patents, 7 direct patents, and we can see that Neville has done these alone. Actually, none by themselves. All of them have linkages. If we highlight the entire network, we can see this is the full collaboration patent for Neville. So you can see that Neville has these 7 patent families and has a whole host of collaborators. Neville tends to collaborate with a lot of different people. There's not a lot of frequent collaborations with just one individual. Rather, a lot of multiple collaborations with multiple individuals. We can go through and we can highlight those, just clicking on the control to see what Neville's doing with a particular patent. Or if we click off of that, we can go through and then highlight all of the collaborators. Let's pick somebody else. Let me pick David Liu over here. Can do a control select, holding those keys down, and add in Rossi as well. We can keep layering in these individuals. Let's take a moment and explore this space, clicking different individuals to see their networks, to get a sense of the structure of the pending activity. Now, in this case of Harvard and CRISPR, we could also go through and just bring everybody back and reset the entire map. If we do go in an individual, though, it's going to highlight just that individual, so we can actually navigate even with a fairly messy map. So as you can see, I've got the entire map highlighted here. Bring it all back, and I can still work with those, right? So you don't have to turn things off to see it interactively. We can also see an individual and highlight his or her linkages across the map. Let's go back to Neville for a moment. Actually, let's use a simpler example here. Let's pick Rossi. So we can move items around. They'll stay in place and they'll highlight. And then the main target, in this case Rossi, double outlined in red because it's highlighted over here on the left-hand side. Now if we click on the interlink point, in this case the 4 records that Rossi shares with Cohen and this individual here, they'll highlight in red as well. Again, the target record will be double highlighted because that was the original item that we fit into this portion here. To make the map more understandable, we can rename the title of it, of course, any way that we want. And we have the ability to send this information out of Derwent Data Analyzer. We can export images or PDFs, or we have the ability to send this out as an HTML file. To show this up, I'm going to open it up in Chrome. One really nice thing is that we do not lose the ability to explore the map. The person who receives this HTML file can switch people on and off, can move the nodes around. They don't need their own copy of Derwent Data Analyzer to do it, right? They can have just that HTML file. So it unlocks the value of Derwent Data Analyzer for the entire organization. So as you can see, we can explore this navigation both within the application itself and outside of it. It's nice to have an interactive report. So that's the tour of the new controls for the cluster map. Just one more quick final note. We have added the yellow dots back into this release. These will disappear if there's too many of them to be useful. Because the new maps are faster, the cutoff for this is higher than it was in older releases. Also, based on your feedback, we've softened up those yellow lines a little bit as compared to version 7, so they match more closely what you might have seen in previous releases. Hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please do let us know. And thanks again for using Derwent Data Analyzer version 8.